daily Bhakti Center podcast, where we talk about spiritual subject matters, specifically diving into Bhagavad Gita and learning about the ancient spiritual truths and learning how to apply them to our everyday lives. We are here with our live studio audience from all over the states and the world, and with my co-host Achyuta Gopi. How are you doing this morning, Achyut?
We are blessed this morning. That's what we're going with. That's what we're going with. We're blessed. We're here. It's Friday. What?
I am also feeling blessed, but I'm feeling like I need to be horizontal. Like I just need to be horizontal for today and be blessed.
Horizontally blessed.
Horizontally blessed. Like that's how I'm feeling there. I'm like after I sit upright for this podcast, I'm gonna go on my couch and just like be on my computer like this all day answering emails. That's the plan.
Hey, I like it. I like that plan. I think that's a really good plan.
I think it's a good plan too.
I think everybody might be working horizontally.
That's what Fridays were made for, folks. Apparently Mercury is going into retrograde again. I'm just like,
and there's a full moon tomorrow. Like there's a whole bunch of stuff happening. It's something else.
We are reading Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 36, I believe, or 35. I can't remember. 35. Okay. Achyuta, would you like to take us away?
Krishna is still speaking with Arjuna. He says, "The great generals who have highly esteemed your name and fame will think that you have left the battlefield out of fear only, and thus they will consider you insignificant. Your enemies will describe you in many unkind words and scorn your ability. What could be more painful for you, O son of Kunti? Either you will be killed on the battlefield and attain the heavenly planets, or you will conquer and enjoy the earthly kingdom. Therefore, get up with determination and fight." I really like these. I think I start off all of them by saying that. I wonder if there's going to be a section of them where I'm like, I'm really not sure about these. But these I like. I kind of feel as though Arjuna was posing the question earlier, better for me to be killed on the battlefield unarmed and like a coward for all intents and purposes, rather than kill the sons of Dhritarashtra. And he's like, actually, there is something that could be more painful for you. And this loss of reputation that you think, like the ways that you've built yourself and how you identify with yourself have been with his characteristics. It has been about like, it has literally been who he is. And he's been so authentic about it that Krishna is now saying that living inauthentically could almost be worse than death. Which I think is kind of really amazing for a, religious personality to be acknowledging that, that box that you've really built yourself up to be in. That box is absolutely authentic, and I see it. Living any other way would literally kill you.
I love how you're bringing that very real kind of practical aspect to it, because one can read this and think like, okay, Arjuna's fighting on the battlefield, and like, what does that have to do with me? And and the message that we're getting, like you're saying, is like Krishna is basically asking Arjuna to just like be authentic, like be in your nature, like do what you're supposed to do. And I'm just going to read text 38 because I really like it.
Yeah.
It says, "Do thou fight for the sake of fighting, without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat. And by doing so, you shall never incur sin." And I really love this last verse because it kind of ties everything up in this little section of chapter 2. Because if we're looking at Arjuna's fighting as being representative of him living authentically, as it is, like that's what it is, and we're thinking about ourselves, you know, a lot of the times, we were talking about this yesterday, right? Like a lot of the times we won't be living in our truth, or we won't be living authentically because we're worried about the reactions or the consequences, or what it's going to look like to other people, what my parents are going to think if I went to get a creative arts degree instead of like become a doctor or a lawyer, you know. And Krishna is saying like go and be yourself and do it without considering the happiness or distress, or if you're going to win or if you're going to lose, or if you're going to get some gain or if you're going to get some loss. Like don't worry about any of that, just like be yourself, do your dharma, and act authentically. And I feel like that's such a powerful message, because we're so arrested by fear of what the outcome is going to be, you know. And later Krishna is going to get more into that, like outcomes and all of that stuff, but the message is already coming through here in this way, and I really love that.
And I really kind of like that we are all in the same situations in life.
Mm,
And even when it comes to, I was talking to my sister once and she was saying it's a good idea when we're saying to be free from the reactions. And she was saying, give it all up to Krishna. The results and handling the reactions, not just physical reactions, karmic reactions, but other people's reactions to me. You have to give it all to Krishna. There's only one person that can really handle all of that.
mm,
And Krishna, of course, like you said, will say it later, that he's in charge of all the reactions anyway. But
mm,
I like that he's saying you shall never incur sin,
mm,
which is amazing because usually that's like the first thing that people use to dissuade anyone from being authentic is that, look, there's just going to be all this sin and you're just on a pathway to hell. And here actually Krishna is saying, he's like, no, but the people who live most authentically
mm,
wind up, he doesn't punish people for just living authentically. Like he's literally as God saying God doesn't punish people for living authentically. And I think that it's easy for us to grasp that when we're thinking about ourselves.
mm,
Not as easy to grasp it when we're thinking about the other people who we feel don't deserve it.
mm,
And it's just those people who are like, even they'll tell you like a tiger in the forest does not incur sin for just living its tiger life. Like it's not incurring sin for not being a vegan. That's part of its nature,
mm,
is to eat these other animals. And so Arjuna is saying, like, but these are abominable activities. I shouldn't be killing living entities, none of this. And he's like, actually, there is no sin incurred for you.
mm, mm, mm. I really love that, and it really speaks a lot to like what Krishna consciousness is and how accommodating it is. Because a lot of times we have this idea of what a spiritual path, practice, religion, right? What it looks like and what it's supposed to look like. A lot of times people are afraid of going deeper into, let's say, a fixed spiritual path because of those negative samskars or negative impressions of like, well, this, you know, it's going to be like this. um and that's not necessarily the case when it comes to bhakti, right? Like Krishna is like telling you like straight up, like be your most authentic self and you're not going to incur sin. It's like, that sounds very different than the message that we've received all our lives of like, make a mistake and you're going to hell. Like that's
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right. And forever.
forever, forever. It's just like so different. And I love that this this science of bhakti yoga is really like asking us, or really allows us to utilize the best of ourselves in service of Krishna. Like you're saying, like we're offering everything up to Krishna, including the results. And I think that a lot of that comes, a lot of perhaps the fear of giving up all the results to Krishna, and just really, really like trusting that Krishna is the one that's the controller. I was thinking about this because we think we're the controller. And the way I'm thinking of a specific example. Yesterday I was talking about the example of like asserting boundaries with people in my life. And I think a lot of the times, and we were talking about being afraid of confrontation and conflict and all of this
Mhm.
stuff. And I think a lot of the times you even hear it in our language. You know, people are like, you made me feel this way, or like, I made you feel, etc. And I'm like, hold up. I didn't go into your psyche and like, like make you feel a certain way. And I really was thinking about that because I was thinking about, asserting boundaries and confrontation, etc. And it's like, if let's say I assert a boundary and the other person is really, I don't know, plussed about it, is really just like upset and this and etc. It's like you have two options. One is thinking that I'm the controller in every situation and like I made this person feel this way. I did this to them. I'm so awful. I'm terrible. I'm whatever, um snake hole you go down. Or the other is, this is what I did. This is what feels good to me. And whatever they're feeling, that's in Krishna's hands, you know? That's in Krishna's hands because I'm not necessarily in charge of that. And everyone is kind of like everyone is going through their own journey. Like everyone's triggers, everyone's memories, everyone's some scars, like that's all going to be part of their journey. Like I'm not controlling their journey. So by me speaking up for myself, by me fighting, like Krishna is telling Arjuna, like fight, do your duty, by me doing the thing that I'm supposed to do. And if others, if there's like rub against that, um, then it is what it is. You can't please everyone. You can't be a
Yeah, it's like when I had someone come and tell me like, Achita, I can't believe you are like this. I was down to follow your page when you were posting even like deities and stuff, but now you're posting like institutionalized things, and that's triggering me. And I was like, well, first of all, one, we've known each other since we were 10. So what? But second of all, what institutionalized things am I? What are you talking about? And they're like, oh, like you're posting all these figures, and I was like, how am I supposed to know you get triggered by that? You've got to know your own social media triggers. Like, I had no idea that you were even looking at my stories. To be honest, there's so many followers here. I don't know who you are. Like, I was like,
mm,
I did not know you were following me. I did not know any of this was happening. But also, you have to take responsibility for your own internet triggers. If you are emotionally triggered by the content that I post and I have no idea that you are there, put my stories on mute.
mm,
Like, there are other things. There are ways that you can protect yourself if you know that you get triggered just by seeing religious figureheads.
mm.
It's all it takes.
That's all it takes.
So I'm like, and that's an example of, I have to be who I am,
Mm-hmm.
and there are things in place that you can do to adjust. But I don't know how I'm supposed to adjust for your life that I have no idea about. And it still doesn't give us like license to just be a jerk. Like, we know when we're being a jerk. We know when we are intentionally doing things to annoy and trigger other people. So yes, don't do that. But also, live authentically. And
Mm,
I feel like it always comes back to the people who are like, well, what if me just being authentic is just me keeping it real, and this is just me keeping it real? And I'm like, well, no. If you are intentionally hurting other people, that is not your swadharma.
yeah.
Unless you are an agent of Yamaraj, born and bred in that little Yamaduta family, it is not your swadharma to be purposefully annoying to other people.
Mm.
But if you feel like, oh yeah, that's just my most authentic self, then we should examine that. Go deeper. Let's figure out, what is it that you really desire, because everybody wants something. And
Mm,
if you are going around purposefully making other people feel insecure, or making them feel upset, or making them feel jealous, or making them feel this whatever way it is, then you have to look into what it is you think you need.
mm,
If what you want is a reaction out of people, then your swadharma is, your nature is not to be annoying. You
mm,
have a desire for interaction. You have
mm,
a desire for companionship, and you're thinking that this is the only way to get it.
mm,
So that eternal nature then is to be with other people, to serve other people, to somehow
mm,
have a connection with other people. Now, whether we choose to go about that in a healthy way or an unhealthy way is up to us.
mm, mm, mm. Yes, and I really like Martha's question, which you're speaking to already, Achyuta, about being responsible for our actions and knowing when we're being a jerk, knowing when we're doing things kind of like on purpose just to like push people's buttons or whatever. Martha's saying yes, but we need to be responsible of our actions more so if our actions are offered to Krishna, correct? This is a really interesting point because in the science of bhakti yoga, there's this concept called yukta vairagya, which means that technically anything in this material world could be utilized in the service of Krishna, right? Like we can use anything and dovetail it, and Krishna eyes it and bhakti-fy it. However,
Ooh.
it's a very fine line, right? Because all of a sudden I can be like, you know what? Like me in the club, like, drinking all these drinks is for Krishna. Me, I'm in a 5-person relationship. That's for Krishna. That's not for me. It's for Krishna, like the club, like, so I'm really, I always remember this. In chapter 9, verse 20 something of Bhagavad Gita, there's a purport. And Srila Prabhupada specifically is talking about this concept of yukta vairagya. And he defines yukta, someone who is yukta, he's defining this as someone who is not acting flippantly, but who is taking superior direction. And in that way, they can dovetail actions for Krishna, to Krishna. And so I think it's super important that I'm not just like flippantly and whimsically, just like, yeah, the club is for Krishna and like the rave is for Krishna
Heckler.
and all this stuff is for Krishna. It's like, wait a minute, like there's a checks and balance system. That's why we have Sangha, that's why we have sadhus and shastra and all these things where we're actually seeing like, okay, is it actually for Krishna, or am I just saying that it's for Krishna and doing it for myself,
Yeah. And I think in terms of being responsible for our actions, we know there are some things that we know. It's like when you have a parent teacher conference and you know how you've been doing all quarter at school. And then you get there and then you act surprised and the teacher's like, oh, they need improvement in this area. And you're like, oh, what? Jim? How? I don't know. And the parent's looking at you like, well, what happened? You're like, I don't know. You know. You know you only went 3 times that whole quarter. Like, you know when the things are there. You know when it's see-through. You know when it's the front that we put up, right? So I in life we know. We all know. Because Krishna also says, for that friend who's the supreme person, yes, offer all actions. But everything that you would want to offer that person should be the best of what you have.
mm,
So when the actions, you're like, oh, I'm going to offer this to Krishna, it'll be fine. Is that the best you got?
mm,
Is that the best of you? Or are we just throwing things at Krishna, saying whatever, like maybe it'll stick? Like,
mm,
you still want to offer the supreme person the best of who you are, which is why I say, going back to our old time favorite word, it behooves us
yes.
to really look deeper than this surface action, because sometimes you're like, well, I can offer everything to Krishna. What if it's my swadharma to be an alcoholic and here I am? And I'm like, but in the throes of that illness, is it the best you've got?
Mm,
Maybe in the throes when you are so down and out, that's the best you've got. And so Srila Prabhupada even says, he says, with the Rasoham Apshakonteya, the I am the taste of water. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, but Krishna is the taste of all liquids.
mm,
So even if there is a drunkard who is drinking and thinking, oh, this liquefying taste, the essence of this taste must be Krishna.
mm,
He says, in time, there will be spiritual advancement made. So yes, when you are in the throes of an illness, when you are in the throes of a certain section of life, maybe that is the best you've got. But
mm,
as you get better and as things change, we start to realize, that wasn't the best of me. This is the best of me now. This is the best I can do now.
mm,
And that is subject to change in the future. It might be higher or lower than what you've done before. But I
mm,
think the point is that we should be doing our best.
mm. Yeah, I
Who
agree with
deserves
you.
our best?
I agree with you. We should be doing our best. And one thing I'll add to that is that we should be doing our best and we should be honest with ourselves
Yeah.
about our intentions and why we're doing things. Because I think this, oh, I'm just doing everything for Krishna. I'm like, girl, like, are you? Come on, like, let's be real. Like, there's this really beautiful, like that's why the position is like to be as humble as a blade of grass. It's like I'm under like even these super advanced saints in our lineage, they're saying, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself is saying, like, I have no taste, like I like even him is giving us this beautiful example of humility. So if Sri Chaitanya is taking that position, like, who are we to be like, I got this, everything's for Krishna, I'm fully surrendered, everyone, and therefore, because I'm fully surrendered, me at the club is for Krishna. It's like, something is wrong here. And I'll read this part of the purport. Club is the word of the day.
It's like
Um,
my new favorite word now.
I'll read this part of the purport of verse 28. So Srila Prabhupada says that everything should be performed for the sake of Krishna is transcendental consciousness. So there is no reaction to material activities. He who acts for his own sense gratification, either in goodness or in passion, is subject to the reaction, good or bad. But he who has completely surrendered himself in the activities of Krishna consciousness is no longer obliged to anyone, nor is he a debtor to anyone, as one is in the ordinary course of activities. And I wanted to read that just because I love the juxtaposition of, like, okay, we have people over here who are acting for their own sense gratification, and then you have people over here who are like completely surrendered to Krishna. And I just think that there's a process to get from here to there. It's not like I'm just like, imminent, like instant transcendence. I just like, oh, I'm fully surrendered to Krishna. There are steps in the bhakti process. There are steps that people take years and years and lifetimes to get through, and it's a journey. It's like a really, really big journey. So it's not just like, oh, I'm transcended and now every single little thought that I have is for Krishna. It's like, so I think just the point of being honest with ourselves where we're at is really important.
And I think the example is here. Actually, I thought you were going to say you like that part because you like debt forgiveness, but
Okay, Krishna was the original
okay, okay.
original debt forgiveness, loan forgiveness.
Thank
Okay.
you. Yes, but you know, Arjuna's example is that he's literally standing next to God,
Yeah.
saying, "But I don't think these activities are spiritual." And no matter what I think on the inside for the rest of time, other people are not going to think that.
Mm,
And so what happens when we know in our heart what is spiritual for us, and we kind of also know that I don't know if anybody else is going to accept this.
mm,
Krishna is like, well, I'm still here. I still got an opinion, and I accept you. I will accept it. He's like, you offer me whatever it is. You offer me the best of what you've got.
mm,
Even in that moment, I'll accept it and
mm,
I'll reciprocate with it. So, we don't, it's not about becoming perfect because outside of Krishna, that perfection doesn't exist. And I love that it's not about being perfect. Krishna is not saying, like, perfect it first, then I'll bless you. He's like, I've been here all along, as imperfect as you think you are, but you give me the best you've got, I'll accept it.
mm. It's so hopeful, right? Like, Krishna's not like, if you don't perfect it, then you're going to hell. Like, no, like
Yeah,
that's not the
he's
message.
literally, he's like, just focus on me.
Mm,
That's it. We'll guide through the rest. We'll see how it goes. It's like we'll take it as it comes, but just focus. Just can I
mm,
get you to focus on me?
mm,
And then that's all we need. Like it is so complex when we're like, oh, but this person, and what about that person, and what about this institution, and what about that over there? And he's like, just if you just hone in your focus right here,
Mm.
I will literally take care of the rest. No worries.
So beautiful. Such a wonderful way to close out the week. We are
Mm.
running fresh out of time. Let's hand it over to Kimberly, our master taker awayer, and see what takeaways she has for us today. And if anyone else has any takeaways in the chat, please put them in there. What you got for us today, Kimberly?
Thank you. So today I got, we're taking away to take responsibility for our triggers. We don't have to be perfect. We just have to learn to act authentically, be honest with ourselves, and offer our best self to Krishna, including all the results too.
Good. Thank you so much, Kimberly. We need to make a book of all the takeaways. Like she just like puts them so perfectly. What are you walking away with today, Achuta?
That it is okay for my barometer to just be okay. I'm gonna do my best. One more day. Maybe I don't have to think about the next 20 years. Maybe I cannot think about the next 20 years. Maybe my commitment phobeness jumps in if I think about the next 20 years, but I can think about today.
Mm.
I can resolve to just do my best today. And then we'll see about tomorrow when it gets here.
Mm. That's beautiful. I really love that. I want to go with that too, but I was gonna say that I think I'm taking away just just being honest with yourself and trusting that if you sit with yourself and you tune out the voices of maybe it's society, maybe it's your job, maybe it's your parents, I don't know, of all these people who are telling you like you're supposed to be this way and this is what you're supposed to do. If you just let that all go for a moment and you really sit with yourself, like you know what you're supposed to do, and you know who you are, and you know what your natural inclinations are. I know we said that yesterday, but I feel like it's such an important point. Clear out the noise and just listen. Okay, folks, thank you so much for being here, to our live studio audience from all over the States, from Brazil and other countries out there. For everyone listening out there, thank you so much. We will be taking the weekend off, and we will be back Monday morning at 9 a.m. continuing reading Bhagavad Gita. Thank you all, and have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Haribol. Bye-bye.